Hello everyone! I'm back to the studio today. How are you? Hi. 안녕하세요, 케이진입니다. Hello everyone. My name is Keijin and this guy's name is 침침. 안녕하세요, 침침입니다. Welcome back to weekly Korean Live class. 안녕하세요. 하루 또 주아한 야스민, 크리스, 에스 더 그레이트, 코디, 레기아나, 웰링턴, 헤이 에미코, 아티, 푸라, 아마야. Thank you very much for joining today's live class as usual. I know all of you. Quality 5 a.m. Thank you very much for joining such an early time. Okay, so how are you guys? So today's topic is about what advice would you give to a new Korean learner? Well, even though you are not a new Korean learner, today's advice will be very useful for Korean learners for any level. So please keep watching it. 안녕하세요, 안녕하세요. 키아라 and 링과, 라비, 루니, 크리스, 아마야, 바네사. So I'll keep reading your comments, so please keep writing. Hiya. Okay, great. So, question for you. What advice would you like to give? Do you have any advice in terms of learning Korean? If you do, please let me know and let other Korean learners know so we learn from each other. Today I prepared several important advice from Korean learners. Well, I agree those advice, but those are basically from the Korean learners who already experienced learning Korean as a foreigner. So it will be really useful to you too. Kiara is 5:30 a.m. in Sri Lanka and Haruto is 9:30. So you guys are in the same country? Hey Emiko, Chimchim is still wearing mask. Exactly. Until the situation is very good, Chimchim will be wearing mask because Chimchim is very, very, very important. Chimchim should be safe. Do you agree? Acid grade, that's an amazing advice. Accept the mistakes. A lot of learners make a mistakes when speaking Korean and they say sorry to me. Sorry, I made a mistake. No, you don't have to be sorry. Actually, by making mistake, you feel a bit embarrassed, right? Like, oh, I made a mistake. That moment, you won't forget that mistake and then you won't make the same mistake. So actually, that's a great sign when you feel embarrassed. And you don't have to say sorry to me. And Samada, my advice, get a Korean friend who knows your native language or a language you speak. That's a great advice too. So to make Korean friends in your region, you can find some Korean community or try to find some event that Korean people organize. Or you can also use an application, website. K-pop dance, thank you. Vanessa, can I have chim-chim? My life without chim-chim? I can't imagine. Chris, you're not late yet. So now people are sharing their own advice, their own tip to learning Korean. Okay. My advice for you. Well, actually, this is from the Korean learner. The advice is start with basics. It's very, very important. Start with the basics. So what's the basic? First is the alphabet. Hangul. Hangul is the name of the alphabet. It looks like this. It's not very difficult to learn. So if you haven't learned Korean, please start with Hangul first. Hangul. And if you don't have any materials to help you master this Hangul alphabet, we have the free worksheet, so please check out the link in the description. So why Hangul is very important? The alphabet, Hangul alphabet teaches you the pronunciation of the language and also gets you read and write. The point is the English alphabet and Korean alphabet sounds very different. For example, how about this? If you don't learn the Korean alphabet and try to read this, how are you going to read? Jeong, Jeong. So if you just see the romanization, that might ruin your pronunciation. It's not like Jeong, Jeong, Jeong. It's Jong. So the romanization is this, but romanization doesn't mean that the pronunciation is equal. It's actually different. So try to practice the Korean pronunciation using this Korean alphabet. 디샤, 한글 너무 쉬워요, right? Hangul is very easy to learn. So if you haven't started learning Korean yet, start with Hangul. So the link is in the description. So please check it out. So if you click the link, you will see the page and then click the blue button. If you click the blue button, you will see this page. But please remember, you have to be logged in. That doesn't mean that you have to pay for anything. You have to subscribe to any paid subscription. No. As long as you have the free account without paying anything, you can download. So I hope you will take advantage of it. And also, not only this, this slide, you can download it. And also all the PDF lesson note of my previous lesson for free. Okay, next, grammar. You have to master the basic grammar. What is grammar in Korean? It's 문법. So you should learn 문법. I'll show you why 문법 is very important. But first, let's see this. The more grammar you know, the more accurately and fluently you'll be able to express yourself in Korean. The thing is, if you don't learn 문법, grammar, if you don't learn 문법 and try to pick up some phrases, you won't be able to make millions of sentences that you haven't come across yet. So for example, before that, yes, if you skip this, you have to come back anyway. So if you start with the basics, that will save your time. That's right, it's 문법. Second advice. I show you why 문법 is important, but second advice, you cannot become fluent just by watching Korean dramas. I'm sorry, but this is reality. Maybe there is a genius who just watch Korean drama and suddenly speak Korean so fluently, but unfortunately, I haven't met that person in my life. So maybe there is, but I haven't met. So the possibility is really low, and average people cannot really speak fluently by watching Korean dramas. You can pick up some phrases, but that doesn't mean that those people can speak like me. So for example, you are watching Korean drama, there's a monster, and then the monster is eating people. So the main character say, "Hey, don't eat." So the person say, "먹지 마." So you pick up the phrase, don't eat this, 먹지 마. Okay, now I know some one Korean phrase. And now you wanna say, don't laugh, don't smile. You know the word to laugh in Korean is 웃다, but you don't know how to say don't laugh because you haven't learned the grammar and that you haven't come across the sentence. You haven't picked up the sentence in Korean drama, so you wouldn't know. But if you learn the grammar, even though you haven't heard don't laugh in Korean, you can make a sentence yourself. Okay. So I first need to get the verb stem. What's the verb stem? Remove 다 at the end, then that's the verb stem. So it's 웃다. 웃다, this means to laugh. It's a dictionary form. So remove 다 at the end, then you have 웃, left, 웃. Okay, so don't is 지마. So it's 웃지마. 웃지마 means don't laugh. Don't laugh. Wow. And what if don't cry? Don't cry. Okay, cry in Korean, you check the dictionary. Cry is 울다. Okay. Again, it ended with 다. So remove 다 and put 지마. So this means don't cry. So by learning the grammar, sentence pattern, you will be able to make thousands of Korean sentences by replacing the verb stem or the verb or words. But if you just pick some phrases, you only know one. But you know, Korean people speak millions of different sentences. And if you know grammar, you can also make thousands of millions of sentences. 주아함 먹지 마십시오. That's the polite way to say it. By the way, please remember this 지마 is informal way. So you can use it between friends. 웃지마, 울지마, 먹지마. So grammar is this much important. Grammar. And Chris, 웃고 싶습니다. You are not sure if the grammar is correct? You are correct. Great job. By the way, 고 싶다 means want to. We already covered this lesson in my previous lesson. So if you haven't checked my video yet, check it out. Okay, so that's the point. So you can't become fluent in Korean just by watching Korean dramas. You have to study. Yes, the point is study. Yeah, you have to learn the grammar. And also in Korean dramas, they use advanced words. Sometimes I don't know those words. For example, I'm watching like lawyers drama. And my major is not lawyer, so I don't know many vocabulary there. And if you just watch lawyer drama, then you'll be learning very difficult words, which is not really commonly used in daily life. So yes, if you want to be fluent, you need to find the materials, learning material that fit your level, that teaches you grammar, right level vocabulary, stuff like that. So, but I don't mean that Korean drama is bad material. It's a great material for you to learn the Korean culture, and then the intonation of Korean language, and then the accent and the Korean habit. Like, Korean people often say when we think. For example, Chim, what's your favorite movie? What's the movie that you watched recently you really loved? And Chim is like, yes, this is Korean habit. So you can learn this kind of Korean habit or the culture a lot from Korean drama. But if you want to speak Korean fluently, like me and Chim, then Korean drama is not enough. You have to study. Chris, exactly. 우리는 한국어를 공부해야 합니다. And Vanessa, 웃지 마세요 is a formal one. Yes, it's a polite way to say that. And my family, that's why 가지마 is also another example, which means don't go, 가지마. Third advice, find out how you learn and what works for you. That's why the people who already learn another language learn Korean faster. I mean, if Korean is your only second language, then it might be hard because you don't know what learning strategy you like, and then also what what language learning style fit your learning style, so you don't know. But if you learn many other languages, you will find your way to learn a language, so they learn faster. So the point is, that doesn't mean that you have to learn another language before Korean. The point is, you have to find how to learn a language. I know a lot of ways to learn Korean, but that doesn't mean that every learning style fit everyone. So everyone has different learning style. They prefer different way to learn it, so you have to find your own way. So question for you. How do you study Korean? So what learning style do you have? What secrets of learning Korean? What secret do you have for learning Korean? Let me know. Let us know. So in Korean we can say 한국어를 어떻게 공부해요? 한국어를 어떻게 공부해요? 한국어를 어떻게 공부해요? 탐파마줄 and Rizwana, Jundemel, Sin, thank you for your comment. If you can share the answer, that will be great too. So 한국어 means the Korean language. 를 object marking particle, making 한국어 as an object of the sentence. 어떻게? 어떻게? It means how. 공부해요? 공부해요? Do you study? So how do you study Korean? Chris, practicing Korean with a native Korean is my best method. That's great too. Practicing speaking with native speakers, that's also a great way. And some people who are not very outgoing prefer writing Korean alone. And some people 코르니비 많은 한국어 라이브 수업을 항상 봐요. So you watch lots of live Korean lesson. Maybe Korean class 101 this lesson? that's the best way. No, there are many different ways, but the point is you have to find the way that fits you, that make you love learning Korean. 3살 탓은 저는 세종학당에 다니고 있어요. So it's a Korean language school. That's also a good way. Oh, Rory, my best study is when I work with a study group. So you study with other Korean learners. That's an awesome way too. So there are many different ways. So if you are super beginner of language learning, then it's also a way to try several ways and find which you like the most. Yes, so you have to find something you can stick with. The important thing is that method has to be something that makes you continue learning, if possible, every day. If there is a best learning method, but you feel tired and you don't want to do this, then that's not useful for you. But if it's something like, for example, reading webtoon or like writing a diary for BTS, so it's so fun, so you can stick with it and you can do it every day, then that's the best way for you. So there's no single way to learn Korean, but there are many different ways. You have to find your own learning style. So here's an example. So you shared a lot of important tips now, and here, for example, some people learn language faster when they listen. So they are more like audible like learners. So when they listen to the pronunciation and then they hear the explanation with audio, they learn faster. In that case, you can listen to short audios and learn the conversation. Or some people are visual learners. So when they watch videos like Korean lessons, then they learn faster. Then this can be one way. How about this? Some people really love playing with their phone. So they always have phone 24 hours. Then maybe application can be a good way to learn Korean. So they can download apps, or some people really like reading. And then when they read, they can think themselves, so they learn faster. In that way, in that case, they can read with some lesson note or some stories, conversation. So by the way, you can find all of these different learning methods on KoreanClass101.com. So check it out if you need this. So audio, video. We also have an app. I'll show you later, very soon. But we also have an app. Or you prefer the summary. You are lazy. So you can't wait all the explanation is explained and then stuff like that. You just want to see the summary and quickly understand, then you can learn with lesson notes. So every lesson on Korean Class 101, you can find the lesson note. So you can just read the lesson note and then check the conversation breakdown. Or you prefer like flashcard. That way you can memorize vocabulary quickly. Then you can use flashcard. Or we also have a Korean teacher who can teach you Korean 101 using Messenger, and then you can ask teacher 24 hours anytime. So teacher will get back to you in 1-2 days. So if you have any question about Korean culture, grammar, vocabulary, like why do Korean people do like that, teacher will answer you. So if you need teacher, so you can also check it out. And 파라자크라, 웹툰으로 한국어 배우기. That's also good. Do you know webtoon? Webtoon is a cartoon that you can read online. But webtoon mostly is from Korean cartoon. So this is Konglish word that Korean people make. So webtoon. So it's a Korean cartoon. You can read online. Webtoon. I have the webtoon related lesson that I did before, so check it out. There's some webtoon recommendation too. Ah, you like reading webtoon? That's good. Pura, I listen K-pop song. That's also good too. But you please remember, you still have to study. Just listening K-pop song doesn't mean that you can speak fluently, because you need to learn the relevant vocabulary, grammar. Okay. Ah, Lian, Roby, you read Korean articles to improve your Korean reading. That's very good, very good. Especially if you read the Korean articles, use of the writers, Korean writers are using the correct grammar and then good vocabulary. So it's also a good way to learn Korean. Okay. Ah, Godly, you study at Damuna Center. You finished level 2. That's great. And also, if you go to school, one good thing is you can make friends who have same interests as you, which is learning Korean. Okay, so let's move on to taran. So yes, you can find the video lesson on our website, or as Kiara mentioned, this is our app. Our app is Innovative Language Learning, Innovative Language 101. It's not Korean Class 101. With this app, you can even learn Japanese, Chinese, Arabic, Swahili, Bulgarian, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Vietnamese, so 34 different languages. That's why we couldn't name this as Korean Class 101, because we have lots of other languages. Melissa, I hear using a journal and diary and writing in Korean every day helps learn as well. Writing is actually a good way, really. So if you have any chance, please try writing it. And then also, if someone can check the writing for you, that's even amazing. Amazing! Tararan! Yes, if you just joined the live, you might miss this, but we are giving away this Hangul worksheet for free, so check out the link in the description. Or, do you already know the Korean alphabet Hangul? Then you can actually download these slides in the page. Not only that, I do the live every Thursday at 1 p.m. in Korean time, and you can find all the lesson notes, PDF lesson note of my lesson for free. You don't need to pay for anything, so don't worry, and check out the link in the description. And Yashawi, I like reading short one-page stories in Korean. Then I see an audiobook to check if I read the story right. That's good advice too. So you read. Reading is really important. So you read and you also listen to the audio, so you can also check your own pronunciation and then compare it. Thanks for sharing. Oh, Arina, you also try to write short diary every day. Writing is really good. And yes, practice and learn to talk about yourself. You know what? When you learn Korean, what do you think you talk about the most? You are gonna talk about computer, fruits, vegetables. Actually, you talk about yourself the most. For example, oh, my name is this. I'm blah blah years old. I live this. I'm from this. I'm a fan of BTS. I like this. So you talk about yourself the most. So instead of learning random vocabulary like computer related or science related or cooking related, talk about how to talk about how to explain things you like. Ta-da! So important thing is self-introduction. When you learn Korean, I think the first thing you will learn is, hi, my name is Keijin. I'm from Korea. So you introduce yourself, which is 자기소개. 자기소개. Self-introduction. 자기 is self. 소개 means introduction. So 자기소개 means self-introduction. So when you learn to talk about yourself in Korean, you will be able to talk with natives more. You can continue the conversation with natives. Why? Because they're gonna ask a question about you, like, oh, I see, so what's your favorite movie? So where are you from? So they're gonna ask a question about you. Jimin needs his lost gems. The problem is I can read Korean and pronounce what I'm reading, but I can't understand what I'm saying or reading. This, I think 90% of beginners think the same. So unfortunately, there's just only one way, which is you have to keep learning the vocabulary and keep learning the grammar. So vocabulary is very important. So even though you can read, you don't know the meaning because you don't know the vocabulary. So here an example. 저는 트르입니다. I'm blah 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 blah. For example, my name is Serena. Then you can say 저는 세레나입니다. So you can just put the name of yourself here. Or 저는 학생입니다. 학생 means a student. Or you can also put your occupation like I'm an engineer. 저는 엔지니어입니다. I'm a chef. 저는 셰프입니다. So put the name of your job or your name. How about this? 트르에서 왔어요. I'm from Korea. I'm from Seoul. So put the name of your country or your city. For example, I'm from India. 인도에서 왔어요. By the way, in Korean, India is not India, it's Indo. Indo is India. 인도에서 왔어요. I'm from the United States. 미국 is the United States. So you can say 미국에서 왔어요. So Vanessa, that's also good. 필리핀에서 왔어요. Philippine. And Yasmin, 인도네시아에서 왔어요. So you just need to put the name of your country. This, I like 를 좋아요. What do you like? Just put it. You like ice cream? Then say ice cream. 아이스크림을 좋아해요. Ice cream ended with a consonant, so I'm using 을. 한국을 좋아해요. I like Korea. Korea is 한국. How about Korean dramas? It's 한국 드라마. 한국 드라마. 드라마, it ended with vowel sound, so I'm using 를 here. 한국 드라마를 좋아해요. Another example sentence for you. I'm a fan of. So for example, if you like BTS, you can say I'm a fan of BTS. 저는 방탄소년단 팬이에요. Or you like Blackpink? then say Blackpink. 블랙핑크 팬이에요. You like Twice? Then you say Twice 팬이에요. That means I'm a fan of. So if there are many grammars, then try to pick something that you think you will use a lot to introduce yourself. For example, I'm a chef. Then you will be probably using lots of cooking vocabulary, cooking verb. Then you can learn those first, then instead of learning scientific words. Fifth advice, plan and learn something new every day. Yes, it's hard but also important. So how much time do you have and how much effort can you put in? And always set small goals. So I always emphasize, but please learn Korean in a daily basis. A little thing is okay, just one word a day is fine. Just one word is fine. So if you can have like 5 minutes a day, then try to learn one word. If you can spend even more time, then you can try to learn like 3-5 words, or you can take a lesson. The important thing is you have to be regular. One word is okay. So try to make your goal small. Don't make, okay, I learn Korea 6 hours a day, but you might get tired easily. So make your goal small and think about your time and effort to fit your lifestyle. Kiara, you learn 20 words per day? Wow! 20 words! So if you keep doing that every day, then you will be learning like 600 words a month. That's great. Chris, I practice learning at least 10 vocabulary every day. Cannot remember it all, but it helps a lot. It's definitely. As a human being, when we learn a new vocabulary, we forget. But you remember the words and you come across and you check it again and you remember again, forget again, remember again, forget again. That's the process of memorizing the words. So if we remember once and then remember forever, that's awesome. But unfortunately, language learning, it's not like that. The most important advice for today is start earlier. Start now. So what's the earliest time to learn Korean? Is now. So it's not like, okay, I learn Korean from next year. Well, if you are too busy, maybe you can do that. But what if you just learn one word a day if you are too busy? So start now. Never postpone. So thank you very much for watching today's video, and please don't forget you can download this lesson note. This lesson note in the description. And not only that, you can download this free Hangul worksheet. Not only that, I also teach Korean every Thursday 1 p.m. in Korean time, and I always have lesson notes like this. You can download all my previous lesson notes about grammar, vocabulary, culture, everything is there. Miss Heavy loves K-pop. You guys always remind me of homework. You know what? I think this is the only class that students want homework. When I don't give homework, students send me lots of messages. Teacher, why didn't you give me homework? Why didn't you give me homework? I want homework. And sometimes they do homework themselves, even though I didn't give homework, but they do homework. Aren't they amazing? So today's homework is Super Kijin. This is my Instagram. So Korean advice. Korean advice. Or how do you learn Korean? Do you have your own secret to learning Korean? Do you have your own way to learn Korean? Please let me know. You can write it like, oh, I memorize 3 words every day and I write it on my notes and I read it on the bus. Or I watch Korean K-pop every day and then I pick up one sentence and try to memorize that sentence. Like, you have your own way to learn Korean, right? Please share with me. I only use Instagram. So this is my Instagram account, so please tag me on Instagram story. If you don't tag me, I get hundreds is maybe too much, tens of messages. I get really many messages from students, so I cannot check all the messages. So if you tag me on story, I can get notification and I can check your message earlier. So if you tag me, yes, I can correct your Korean sentence if you write it in Korean. So thank you everyone. Thank you. And next week, I'm going to talk about how to rent an apartment in Korea. I know many of you cannot go to Korea, but well, there will be some cultural tips and what to do when you go to Korea and how to rent stuff. So please join it. Of course, you will be learning the Korean grammar and Korean vocabulary with me too next week. So even though you are not interested in renting an apartment in Korea, you will be still learning lots of vocabulary and grammar that are commonly used in Korea and very, very important. So please join it. It will be March 4th. Time flies. It's already March. And 1 p.m. in Korean time, by the way, it's in Korean time. So it will be 3 a.m. in your country, 5 a.m., 9 a.m., 11 p.m. So check the clock. But yes, it will be 1 p.m. in Korean time. It's 2:05 in Korea. It's 1:30. It's 1:36 in Korea. JM, I will apply your advice. Thank you. JM and Pura and 하루또 주아한 링과. Thank you for your comment. You are interested in immigrating to Korea. This lesson is for you then. And 아여행, it's noon there. And 단단, 고마워요. 앨런 감사합니다. 디아고, gracias. Okay, so thank you very much and I'll see you next week. 감사합니다. See you next week. Bye bye.